Hey everybody, Marco Palmero, founder of Ulysses. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to get the deal flow using cold calls. Now, if you watched other videos on this channel, you know that we talk specifically about how to source, qualify, and negotiate small business transactions, sub $50 million. That's what we do for ourselves on behalf of our clients. And we do that across geographies, across sectors. We've done that in Europe, United Kingdom, United States, even in the Middle East for that matter. So the way I generally look at finding deal flow and building up a solid pipeline of opportunities is through multiple channels. There are other videos where I talk about finding deal flow through emails, affiliates, brokers, any other instruments that is available. In this particular one, we're going to be talking about cold calls. We're going to be talking about the strategic aspect of cold calls, because sometimes people feel that cold calls are not as effective anymore simply because they require a lot of output in order to get a result, in order to get a specific outcome. And in addition to that, they're capped because you only have a certain amount of hours in a day to call people. Unless you scale your team, you're not going to be able to massively scale your cold calling system. So I've done calls myself. I used to do 300 cold calls a day when I was sourcing leads and business acquisitions for myself. So I'm going to be sharing some experiences that have worked for me in different countries, in different sectors, for finding leads through this medium. Now, the first myth I want to dispel is this idea that cold calls is not effective anymore. Now, if you're calling big corporates and you're looking to make big acquisitions, of course, cold calls are not going to be very good for you. They're not going to be a good instrument. But provided you're looking for small businesses like, target sub 50 million in ticket size, maybe even sub 25 million, cold calls are still a very good instrument because, generally speaking, the layers that you're going to need to go through in order to talk with the decision maker or the business owner in this case are not going to be many. And chances are there's just going to be one, which is the assistant or the receptionist. And as a consequence, it's going to be much easier for you to get through these people and talk with somebody who can actually give you an answer on whether or not he's interested in selling this business. And as I'm going to share in this video, there's also a way I generally use to avoid going through these steps and immediately talk with the business owner one-on-one. Now, cold calls are of course capped by your time and by the amount of people that are making the calls, but they're also a very effective instrument, because they can enable you to get in contact with people who are not reading emails, not talking with other people, not listing their company through a broker site. Fundamentally, people that are not active on any other platform where you can reach out to them. And so some of them, I found, are only responsive to calls. And as a consequence, it's our responsibility as business buyers to go ahead and find these guys, because these might be the good opportunities that we were looking for. And leaving them untapped is a disaster. It's a mistake. And it's something that's going to, we're going to leave a lot of money on the table if we do that. And again, calls work very well for small businesses across different geographies. Of course, different scripts work for different industries in different countries based on regulations, based on what is allowed in any geography. Of course, you need to check that out yourself and adapt what you do accordingly. Generally speaking, when we work with clients, either through consulting sessions or when we do the work for them with our Done For You service, we go ahead and build the cold calling infrastructure, and we then execute on that so that people know what are the scripts that work, they can use them and get results in a predictable manner. I'll actually tell you a story and give you some examples around this. There are certain countries where short scripts might be a little bit more effective. I mean, no sugarcoating, just straight to the point. Others might necessitate a little bit of finesse. So it's really dependent on where you're operating and what is the industry you're working in. Again, I've used different solutions based on markets in industries, and there's really no unique answer. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, from a cold calling perspective, what we want to do is avoid to go through all the layers of the gatekeepers and waiting in all the painful processes and hurdles that people need to overcome in order to talk to a decision maker. Our objective when we go ahead and have cold calls and use cold calls is to talk with the business owner directly, right? We want to talk to him and then qualify the person and decide whether or not he's a good target for us to potentially buy. First, is he interested in selling the business? Then, is the business meeting our own criteria for acquisition? That's kind of like the first few things that we want to understand from this person. But before we actually talk to the guy, we need to get in front of him. And the problem is, in many cases, we're going to be talking with an assistant, we're going to be talking with another employee, we're going to be talking with a lot of people in the business who are not actually relevant. They're going to give us tons of objections like call back later, the guy is busy, the owner is not here, is on vacation, call back in 2 weeks, call back in 1 hour, call back in 2 months. All these useless excuses that are not going to help us. They're just going to waste our time, and they're going to make us do tons of output for no reason. And we're going to wonder why cold calls don't work, right? So I've been through that process myself, and I was like, there's going to be a better way to avoid all this problem from happening. Yeah, of course, there's always ways for you to improve in order to get through these people, but I would rather avoid the problem altogether, not even have to face the problem. I would like to just pick up the phone and be able to talk with the business owner directly. And so how do you do that? Well, what I found to be effective is call the businesses either morning time, early morning, evening time, or lunchtime. Now, that's kind of obvious, but why is it that I would like to do something like this? Well, because those are the so-called outside business hours, right? Outside business hours. And the reason why cold calls are more effective in those circumstances is because employees are not going to be around in most cases. And if there's somebody in the business picking up the phone, chances are he's going to be the business owner. And so I'm going to have the ability to talk with the guy directly without putting in a lot of effort talking to assistants, explaining why I'm calling, handling her objections or his objections, and managing to get through the person. So I want to avoid that and just talk with the person immediately. And so what I would do generally was target 2 hours before opening time, 2 hours after closing time, and also sometimes lunchtime. Although it depends on the industry, because sometimes people have assistants stay during lunchtime to answer phone calls, so it really depends on your industry whether or not the person is going to be around or the business is going to be completely shut down. The point is, business owners generally come to their business earlier compared to the employees. Business owners generally stay at the business or at the facility longer than the employees. So if a call comes through, the guy is going to pick up the phone. And so we're going to have the opportunity to talk to him, okay? And so, yeah, many times people might not answer the phone. So you're going to have a lot of times where you call the person and nobody's answering. But that's no problem. We call it the other one, we call the next one, we call the next one, until somebody picks up the phone. And our probability of getting in front of somebody who's actually the owner are going to be way higher. Once we get in front of the person, what we want to do is to quickly qualify him, right? So provided, somebody picks up the phone, we answer, and he answered, we want to qualify the person. So first of all, understand if he's motivated in selling the business, because of course he might not be motivated, and so why are we having a conversation? Then, if he is motivated, then I'd like to ideally understand a few things about the business, making sure he's it is a business that I actually want to buy, or that one of my clients might want to buy. And so I put in KPIs, so I want to ask them just a few qualifying questions to make sure the business is actually a fit. Otherwise, I'm not going to have a second call with the person, okay? But provided that is true, then the whole objective of this call system is to collect the personal information of the person. So it's either going to be his personal phone number or calling number and the email, right? If we can get both, it's even better. If we can just get one of them, so be it. Generally speaking, I found calls to be better. So getting the phone number of the person is better, because I reached out to him through a call and I'm going to follow up with him with a call. Emails work fine, although I found people to be less responsive to a follow-up email after a call. But that, again, it really depends on the industry and where you're operating in. There's really no unique answer. That's just my personal experience. So I want to collect the two piece of data that are going to help me talk with this person privately. And once we got that, the idea is to either schedule a time for a follow-up call and then potentially a meeting, or if possible, a meeting altogether, so without going through a second call. What I've seen is that, generally speaking, people will want to have at least a second call to understand the query a bit better, because this first call, even if it comes morning time or evening time, it's going to be a short one, right? We're just going to ask a few questions, introduce ourselves briefly, explain who we are, what we do, why we're acquiring businesses, and why we would be interested in having a conversation. And then we're going to be going for the kill and getting the context of the person. So ideally, we're going to need an additional call to just get introduced to the person, explain the situation a bit better, and also qualify the opportunity a bit more in detail. But again, the whole system is focused on one key objective, which is getting the details of the owners and then channeling them through our funnel so that we can start qualifying them. Because of course, after that, if the person is motivated and if the business is matching our own acquisition criteria, we're going to want to start the filtering process, soft due diligence, NDAs, and all that sort of stuff. But before we actually get into that, we need to work on this calling system. And now, I know what a lot of you might think. Maybe there's some cold calling gurus watching this saying to me, well, you're just suggesting you don't handle objections of the assistant, so you're basically saying that we are not going to do anything that cold callers generally do. Yeah, that's exactly my point, because my idea is not to become an expert at cold calling. My idea is to maximize my chances of getting in front of business owners so I can qualify them for businesses that might be available for sale. And the way I found to be very effective is to get in front of them right away, instead of handling the objections of somebody that is not even a decision maker. The time that goes between morning, lunchtime, and evening time, I can allocate towards something else. So talking with people in person, working the businesses for sale that I already sourced, visiting facilities, doing a lot of different activities that are significantly more productive, that generate more value for me as a business buyer, or generate significantly more value for the clients that we work with. So when clients come to us and either ask us to consult with them on how to build a system, or they ask us to build a system for them altogether, we say, well, we're going to create multiple channels for you to find businesses for sale so that we can maximize the effectiveness of the system, right? Because using cold calls alone won't help you, right? Some businesses you're not going to get through via cold call. That's just the reality of it. Yes, you can keep calling these businesses, but maybe you would have much better chances of getting through via email, or maybe social media, or maybe affiliates, or maybe networking, or maybe business brokers, tons of other solutions. And so it all comes down to building up a strategy that puts together different channels that ultimately maximize the amount of leads that you can get in front of. Again, the objective is to get quality deal flow that is off market, because again, cold calls are going to enable you to access deals that are not necessarily listed on any site, on any platform. As a consequence, you're going to have preferential access to these deals, much better opportunity to negotiate from a position of strength, and then talk with this person one-on-one instead of having a bunch of competitors hunting for the same deal. So again, what a lot of people struggle with, what I've seen people struggle with, both companies and individuals alike, when they look at small businesses for sale, is that one, they are looking for the easy way out, and two, they don't put into their funnel the right leads. So finding businesses for sale is just like a normal lead generation activity for any other business. And unless you have quality leads into the funnel, it's going to be hard for you to get to the bottom of it with good deals, because we know that acquisitions are all about numbers. You need to look at a lot of opportunities before you can actually find a good one. And so the idea here is integrating calls, emails, many other channels together, building up a system that creates quality leads in volumes and then filters them through a system that spits out opportunities that are an exact match for what you're looking for. So you might be looking for a certain EBITDA threshold, certain profitability level, certain revenue, certain geographic targeting, industry, you name it. There are many different things that you might want to select businesses for. These combined strategies work very, very well. We use them for ourselves, for our clients, and one of the reasons why we don't take on a lot of clients is because the ones that actually start working with us, then they want to retain us for the long term, especially if they're doing multiple acquisitions. So they don't want to give us up to somebody else. We have an application form that is generally booked up in advance. You can check the link below, see if there are still slots available to qualify. Out of necessity, we built the system to be very, very harsh because again, we cannot take a lot of people. We are just too busy. Generally, we work with people that again want to buy small companies between 250K and 50 million in ticket size, open to pay or multiple $1,000 fees for what we build on their behalf, or we consult them on building. And then there's a series of processes that they need to go through: qualification call, form submission, and stuff like that, before we can actually initiate the process of working together. But provided we got slots available, you can check the link below, see if you apply, and then we can look at ways to build a system that looks similar to this, and that not only uses calls, but uses multiple channels to find profitable small businesses for sale you can ultimately negotiate and close.